So the lesson is entitled, "Does Sex Make You Married?" You know, often a lot of times, man, it's a ball of mass confusion about, you know, does sex make one married? You know, some say it does. You know, some say it doesn't, right? Some say you gotta have like a marriage license in order for you to be considered married. Some say no, that's not the case. You know, if you have sex, what they call a premarital sex, you know, that's you know, sex before marriage, before you get the paper license and all of that, you know, which definitely is, you know, not scriptural, right? But let's open up to the book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 16. Let's deal with that. Exodus chapter 22 and verse 16. So we're going to the law. So we're going to deal in the Torah. And we'll get some understanding, you know. So as it says, and if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife, right? So now let's deal with that. Let's deal with that scripture right there in general, all right? So let's let this be the foundation, you know what I mean, to show us, like, okay, does sex make you married? Does it officiate it? You know what I mean? If you have no license, you know, and you have sex with a girl, you know, or a woman has sex with a guy, are they married? Are they considered married? Well, we have to find out, okay? And there are all type of ways, right, that, you know, this act can happen. So now it says if a man entice a maid, right? So let's deal with that word entice. Let's break it down, you know, because that's very important for us to know and understand. That's why looking up words is very important for us, because it opens up your understanding, and it definitely shows you a lot more about the scripture and what it's actually talking about. All right. So yeah, you can also give me the definition as well, and I have a definition here, but you can actually read it for me. So yes, you can get your dictionaries out, and we'll definitely read the definition. So it says, let's look up the word entice. When you get the word entice, read it. Did you find it? All right. So I'll read my definition here. Okay. So according to the Hebrew, all right, it's a Hebrew word, patah, right, meaning to open. And you'll read about this, it's in the Hebrew 6601, all right, that's the Strauss Concordance number. And it says, patah, to open in a mental or a moral sense, simple or in a sinister way, right? So dealing with this definition, okay, it's talking about, you know, if a man entices a maid, right, it could be in a sinister way, that this woman is being enticed, right, to do what? To give up her virginity, you see? So now, let's read on. So it says, delude, now then it gives you the synonyms for it. It says, allure, deceive, entice, flatter, persuade, silly, or one, silly one. So now let's break some of these definitions down and let's get some understanding from them. Look up the word allure. Let's check that word out, allure. Allure. That's what you pulled up? All right, look it up. All right. That's Allah. Allah, you look up deceive, not the God, you give me allure. What does allure say? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. So I like that word, charm, right? So let's deal with that because that's one of the exact definitions that I have, charm. And it says, a quality that causes someone or something to be very likable, attractive qualities, right? So now let's deal with that. So as the scriptures say, when it's talking about allure, right? So if a man allures a woman that isn't made, right? So if he charms this woman, you see what I'm saying? You know, he uses his slick talk, his good looks, you know, his knowledge, whatever the case may be, and he seduces this woman, right? Then, that's a form of how a man would entice a woman, all right? Through his charms, through his attractive qualities. He may have a good clean-cut chin, or, she may be attracted to his beard, or whatever the case may be, right? Something that is likable about a man that a woman is attracted to, right? So now, give me the word deceive. Okay. So I like that word. Oh, okay. So I like that word that you brought up, to cheat, right? To cheat. So now, when you're dealing with this scripture, okay, you'll find out this has happened to all of us, right? And especially you beautiful women, all right, in the house. This has happened to you, right? So it says, so to cheat, it says to deprive of something valuable by the use of deceit or fraud, right? So how would a man, cheat a woman? What would a man cheat a woman out of, or deprive her from, or defraud her of, or deprive her of, huh? No. Yes. No. What's the goal here? Right. So it says, so if a man entices a maid, right? That's part of it. Bingo. Right? So if a man is repeat your answer? I'm sorry. So if a man treats a woman to ease and marry her, right. Right. So to take her virginity. Yes. To take her virginity. That's what that's how a man would cheat a woman out of something valuable, right? So remember, that is the whole goal about us teaching our daughters, right? Okay, that's the whole point of us teaching our daughters, right? The value of keeping their virginity, right? And always making sure that the man that they're dealing with, that they completely understand his goals and his motives, and what he's like really truly about, So you'll basically be able to tell if he's just all about the sex, or he's a horn dog and all of that, right? You'll be able to tell by his action, and then the things that follow. But sometimes that's not always the case, right? So that's why you have to be extra careful, right, and use and apply the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? To your advantage, right? So the scriptures tell us, right, if the type of man that a woman should actually deal with. Okay, a man that fears the Lord and keeps the commandments, right? So now, as you went into the definition of deceit, it said to make someone believe something that is not true, to mislead or to cheat, right? So oftentimes you have brothers that make women believe in something that is not true, right? So that they can get what they want or get what they desire, right? And that is, the sexual relations. You see what I'm saying? So that's why in this scripture here in the book of Exodus, Moses is laying the foundation, telling you here, like, look, it says, if a man entices a maid that is not betrothed, meaning if this young woman, right, this young virgin woman, she's not married, You see what I'm saying? If he deceives her into having sexual relations with him, right? You know, then that man will surely endow that woman to be his wife, right? And we'll get the other part of it in the book of Deuteronomy 22 to go back over so that we'll be able to understand, you know, a little bit more, right? So, so now the next definition that I wanted to get was entice, right? Entice. Entice is another thing. And then after that, you get me flatter. Flatter. You have men that'll entice you. You have men that'll flatter you. You know. Okay, so hold on. So that was basically it. That's what I wanted right there. So entice means to attract someone, especially by offering or showing something that is appealing, right? So now, what is something that a man would show a woman that is appealing to her, that would entice this woman to sleep with this man? Right. It could be money, cars, possessions, you know. Right. It could be things from his wisdom, some of the things that he thinks that he may know, or whatever the case may be. You know, things that are appealing to a woman. Yeah, knowledge is very appealing to a woman, right? You look at our Mother Eve, knowledge was very appealing to her, which he calls her to transgress. All right, so many of those times, man, that's another way that a man will use against a woman. All right, to entice her. All right, attract her by, you know, offering her something, or, you know, showing her something that's appealing to her eyes or to her mind or something. You know, and that's how these men, they'll get these women and deceive them, you know what I mean, into having sexual relations with them. It just doesn't, it happens in the world, you know, it also happens in the truth too, you know what I mean, where sisters are deceived, right? So you have good sisters, man, that are looking for, you know, for damn good men to lead them and to guide them, right? But then, you know, they end up getting these, you know, these crooks, these crooked dudes, you know, try to show they know a little something. Yeah, I'm revealing this to the truth to you and all of this, and blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? Faking the phone. But at the end of the day, all it was an enticement or an allurement, right? And that's why, you know, Moses is sitting here warning the people, man. It's like the Most High is like, look, Moses, tell the children of Israel this. If a man entices a maid, you know what I mean, that is not betrothed and he lie with her, that man should surely endow that woman to be his wife, right? So let's get the next one. That's not flatter. To make someone feel important or attractive, right? So you have like women that may have low self-esteem, right, about themselves, and then you see that that's how men will also entice women or, you know, seduce them into sleeping with them, telling them, baby, you look good, you beautiful, you know, come here, bring your fine self over here, woo, 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 you know, saying those things that, you know, are appealing to them, right? But go ahead, read it from the top again. To make someone feel important or attractive or great to someone important him or her. Right. Okay. So I'll read my definition. So it says to praise someone in a way that is not sincere, right? So so basically what the definition is describing here, you know, a man can give a woman praise, but he's not really sincere about it. He's just doing it to say, oh yeah, baby, you beautiful. That's like saying, you know that woman is ugly as hell, right? But yet, because you want to have sex with her so badly, you know what I mean, you'll sit there and say, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, you know. But you're not sincere about it. You're just saying it just to, you know, basically to fake it, right, to get what you want. You see what I'm saying? I mean, is that right, or is that right, or am I wrong? Okay, then. You look at it, you're like, I'm crazy. But in the second definition says, to encourage or gratify, especially with assurance that something is right. You see what I mean? So then you have the time there where brothers sit and say, it's okay, you know, we could do this, you know, and have the woman, thinking like, damn, me dealing with you is a damn good thing. It's a damn good thing, right? You see many sisters get caught up in that, you know. So that's why flattery, or flattery, women have to be especially careful of, okay? Especially careful of. All right. So then, so now let's deal with persuade. Not that I get that one real quick. Persuade.
Okay. Persuade. Coach. Convince.
To coax, to convince.
Lure.
To entice, to tempt, to lure.
Way.
To influence away.
Cause.
Okay. All right. Well. Okay. Okay. So, causing someone to believe in something and convincing them. Right. So, so now I'll tell you this out. So this is the definition I have. So it says to cause someone to do something by asking, arguing, or giving reason. So it says. So basically, what I put. Why you playing hard to get? Like you just constantly just asking this woman. You know what I mean? Like, why you playing hard to get? Why you always playing? You need to give me that. You know what I mean? Buttering her up and all of that stuff, man. So, all of it is up until the point where he gets what he wants. You know what I mean? He's persuading this woman. He's getting into her mind. I can make you feel like I'm just the best. I'm the best in the world. Can't nobody match what I got to give you. You know what I mean? And guess what? If he sells it to her, if he sells it to the woman, she'll sit there and she'll believe it to the point where she's like, okay, I believe it. And you know what? Be trash as I don't know what. You know what I mean? But that's persuasion, We've all been there before. We've all been sold a pipe dream. But, okay. So now, and I have this last one. This is the last one. So basically we just broke down all of the definitions to enticement, or entice, right? Just to go into like the different aspects of how a man can entice a woman, you know what I mean, to sleep with him. Okay. So then I have here silly, right? Or when it goes to the definition, silly one. So the definition of silly is having or showing a lack of thought, understanding, or good judgment, foolish or stupid, right? So now when you sit back and you look at it, you be like, well, damn, you look at certain women, man, and the choices that they make, right, in men, and you be like, damn, you silly, or that was a stupid decision or a stupid choice, you know what I mean? But it is basically going back to a woman that's like, that just doesn't think for herself. You know what I mean? She lacks that thought. She doesn't have any type of understanding. She has no good type of judgment about the man that she's dealing with whatsoever, right? The type of men that she is dealing with. And then she falls into that snare, to that trap, right? Of being enticed into sexual relations with a man. You see what I'm saying? So basically, when it gets like that, meaning either father's not teaching them, or there's little activity, man, of a woman being taught how she must, understand, the true purpose of becoming a wife and making the right choice in the man that you're dealing with. So that's why, the Most High always had that courtship there. So when you have the courtship, then you know exactly who you're dealing with, how you're dealing with how you're dealing with that person, his family, so on and so forth, right? So then you be like, well, you know what? I don't think it's gonna work between us. There's no harm, no foul done. You see what I'm saying? And then it get end from there. And then, because you haven't officially consummated anything yet. Remember, that's what it's showing you here. Sex officiates, the marriage, basically. So it says, so after that, when we read the full, like we said, we read the full verse. And another one you go right down is like naive. A woman that is naive. Look up the word naive. Give me the definition of naive. You'll hear that one a lot. Sister being naive. Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Every person or action, showing the lack of experience, wisdom, or judgment.
So a woman that lacks experience and judgment, or a woman that's showing the lack of experience or judgment, right? Or good judgment. So basically, it's not on the same level as silly, but it's closer there, right? So a woman that basically lacks experience, you know what I'm saying, and the understanding of the type of character the man that she's dealing with. So basically, she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that the experience of witnessing, quote unquote good man. Then she's bound to make like a bad decision or a bad choice, man, in the man that she's dealing with. Okay. So basically, let's go back to the scripture and let's read it one more time. So it says, if a man entice, allure, seduce, persuade, flatter, all of the above, if he does that, then guess what? He entices a maid that is not betrothed, right? Meaning that she's not married to any man or she's not engaged to any man, right? And lie with her. So let's look up the word lie, okay, as far as in the Hebrew concordance, right? So it's the kab. It means to lie down, rest, or sexual connection. So this is a sexual connection that this woman is now making, or that this man is now making with this woman, right? So then it says, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So he has to go through the process of, coming up with the dowry money for this woman in order for her to be this man's wife. You see what I'm saying? Because now he has to go to the father, and he has to pay the father the money for, for the daughter. You know what I mean? So you'll read, it goes into more detail in the book of Deuteronomy 22. So let's go there. In the book of Deuteronomy 22, and we'll start at verse 13. So I know we had covered this last week, but it's always good to it helps with the understanding too. So verse 13 it says, if a man take a wife and go in unto her, right? Go in unto her and hate her, and give occasion of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. So Allah, what is it talking about? So what is it? So he said, if a man take a wife, right, and go in unto her and hate her, what is that talking about? Real quick. Right. So he's sitting there bringing an evil name upon his woman, saying that she was not a virgin when we consummated our marriage. Right. So remember, he goes in unto her. He's married to her. Right. So let's make that clear. He's married to this woman. Right. So then you'll see how the Most High begins to break down this process. In from chapter 22 all the way down. Right. So now it says, he found her not a maid, right, or a virgin. So he says, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate, right? So she's showing you even more so how important a woman's virginity is. You see what I'm saying? And how important, man, that, how important it is for us to be able to teach our girls, man, how important, how precious their pureness is. You know what I mean? Because you see now women in the world, they don't have that sense. You know what I mean? They don't get that type of moral, of moral guidance, man, from their parents. You know what I mean? They'll sit there and say, well, as long as you protect yourself, that's okay. You know, just make sure that you wrap it up and don't get pregnant at an early age. But you're still promoting fornication. You see what I'm saying? You're still promoting that your daughter becoming a whore. You see what I'm saying? So that's not a good thing at all. So that's why, man, I'm like, well, damn, my father, I have no respect for a father that's furious that his daughter gave herself up, to a man. Why? Because, she gave away something precious that was meant for the man that she would be with for the rest of her life. You see? So that's why, that thought has to be instilled within our daughters, man, again, and it has to be taught to them, you don't give yourself away until the Lord blesses you with that righteous man. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing for our young men too, our males, because they can't go around being whoremongers either. So even the men had to keep a high level of virginity about themselves too. You see? So he just didn't go jumping from woman to woman to woman. Nah, man. If he laid with a woman, he already knew what would happen. He already knew if he went inside of a woman, that woman would be his wife. No matter how many women he went inside, those women would be his wife. And guess what? If we was in Israel, he would have almost $4,000-5,000. He married five with me. I'm like at least about $4,000-5,000 we got to pay out to these fathers, man, of the women that he slept with. You see. But see, in America, a man can get away with that. He can go and bounce from woman to woman, man, and it's not a problem. You see? And that's not good. That means the land is filled with whoredom. You see what I'm saying? Even then, let's go to the book of Leviticus real quick. Leviticus chapter 19. Leviticus chapter 19, and we'll read verse 29. And it says, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become filled with wickedness, right? So again, the Lord said specifically, right, by the mouth of his servant Moses, man, that our daughters are not to be prostituted at all and to become whores, right? If you look at the word whore, it's talking about committing adultery. You see what I'm saying? So men aren't to be going around sleeping with sisters and not taking care of them. Just another way that you look at the scripture. You know what I mean? Of course, you're talking about prostitution in the land, or a woman selling herself for money, but or a man pimping a woman. But also, you got to look at it in another way too, man. How our young men pimp women as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be for money. It could be for damn near anything. You pimp a woman for, her car, the clothes or the money that she give them, or whatever the case may be. Sex. You know what I mean? And then just bouncing from woman to woman, just doing the same thing, causing the daughters of Israel to become whores. You see? So that's one thing that the Most High does not tolerate. All right, whoredom is not tolerated amongst the children of Israel, especially the daughters of Israel. So let's go back to Deuteronomy. So you guys got that right as far as with Leviticus 19 and 29. Not to that, you good? Allah, you good? All right, so now it says, let's go back to Deuteronomy 22, and we'll pick it up at verse 16. And it says, and the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hate her. And lo, he has given occasion to speak against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid. He's saying, so the man goes into it, right? And his cause is that he's finding out that this woman is not a virgin. You see what I'm saying? Because for some way, shape, or form, she didn't give her virginity away. This is the claim that this man is making, right? But we know this is a false accusation that this man is bringing up against the daughter of Israel. All right, that's what he says, an occasional speech against her. So he says, and yet these are the tokens of the damsel of the daughter of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city, right? So once they go in that bedchamber, as I explained before, they consummate the marriage, you know what I mean? So bam, your daughter get married, there's a cloth in there, white. You know, she goes in there with her husband, they do the thing, they consummate the marriage, you know, the seed is there, the proof is, you know, the blood, right? That's what we would keep for our record to prove that when he went into her, that was her, she was a virgin, you see? But then you start reading about in European history, man, like this law, they tried to cheat it, putting all type of, you know, they put cherries, they use tomatoes and all that just to show that they were virgin. Yeah, it goes blood or like get like the little sack of an intestine or something, and you know make sure it's thin enough for them to when they penetrate the pot, you know, just to try to you know prove that their daughter was a virgin. Edomites did that a lot, you know, in the you know during the you know during the 1400s and all that, right? So that was the way that they cheated. So let's drop down and we'll read verse 21, okay? So then, of course, if it talks about if the accusation is not true, then that man would have to immerse the father, or he would be fined. He would be fined a certain amount of money, and then he would have to take the woman to be his wife, and he couldn't put her away all the days of his life because he went in unto her. That's his woman, all right? So it says, verse 21, it says, so then after that, right, so now if they didn't find the tokens of the damsel of virginity, that means she played the whore in her father's house. All right, so let's read verse 21. Then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones, that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put away evil from among you. Right? So when you look up that word whore, whore means adultery, or she committed adultery. Right? Why? Because, let me ask you this, nothing's up. Why does it say that she committed a? Why does it say she played a whore in her father's house? Right. So basically, she was already betrothed to this man. You see what I'm saying? In order for her to have committed adultery, so she was married. So she was already like engaged to him, and she ended up having sex with somebody else before they came together. See what I'm saying? Stuff like that, it happens. Right? It happens all the time. Okay? It still happens even to this very day. Y'all heard those stories about, you know, the bride sleeping with somebody else before before the wedding and all of that crap, right? So again, this is just the Most High just showing us, man, the different scenarios that play out, all right, and how you deal with those types of scenarios, all right. So my daughter sit there and she playing the horn in father in our house. She gotta go. She gotta go. That cannot be tolerated. You see what I'm saying? So now let's read on. So let's drop down and let's read verse 22. So now it says, if a man be found laying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die, both man and the woman, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shalt thou put away evil from Israel. Right? So what is this called, Natazah? It's called adultery. Good. All right. So it says, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gates of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he humbled his neighbor's wife. So shalt thou put away evil from among you. So, again, now to explain the scripture, I'm going to read it slow. It says, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, Right, so let's deal with that. So what is the Most High talking about here when he says if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband? Okay. She got married. Well, wait a minute. We just already read in verse 22 that if a man found a married woman, right, that's married to a husband, and she consents to having sex with another man, that's adultery. She has to die, right? So now what is being shown here? So she's a virgin, yes. There you go. She's engaged. That's what I want you to see. So if this woman is engaged to a husband, right, and she goes and she sleeps with another man, right, while she's engaged to her husband, then what's the judgment? Death. So the man, right, and the woman, because he said the woman, she cried not. And the man, because he humbled his neighbor's wife, right? Meaning he deceived her or he manipulated her, however. You see what I'm saying? That's why it says, man, if a man entice a maid, all right. So now let's read. So it says, then ye shall bring them both out to the gates of the city and of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So shalt thou put away evil from among you. Okay. So now it says verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rises up against his neighbor and slays him, even so is this matter. Right? It says, for he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. So Allah, let's deal with this. So now it says, but if a man find a find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. What is that talking about?
Rape.
So it's talking about rape, but explain more, elaborate.
Basically, it's about this guy into her and forced
So right, so the guy he came to her, he wasn't trying to seduce or nothing like that, but he forced this woman, right? So we seen her, or basically, like you see in Law and Order, right? A lot of the cases are rape in that instance, okay? So now let's get an instance of that. Let's go to the book of 2 Samuel. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 13. And we'll start at verse 1. And it reads, and it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister whose name was Tamar. And Amnon, the son of David, loved her. And Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Amnon thought it hard for him to do anything to her, right? So he wanted to have sexual relations with his sister. He had a vile affection or wicked spirit came on this man to have feelings for his sister, right? So we know that would be considered incest, okay? But this is how he felt. He was sick in love with her. Meaning he was like just, it was a psychotic passion that this man has for his sister, all right? It says, for she was a virgin. You see what I'm saying? So she has not been touched by any man at all. So remember, in Israel, a woman that was a virgin was a very, very of high quality of woman to actually deal with, right? Because you want to marry your daughter off when she's definitely at her purest, all right. So let's read on. But Amon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother. And Jonadab was a very subtle man. So this man was a very wicked and crafty man, all right? So it says, and he said unto him, why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me? And Ammon said unto her, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said unto him, lay thee down on thy bed and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it and eat it at her hand. So this man, he was a wicked bastard. You know what I mean? He's giving this man counsel, right, to deal with his own sister. You see? That's why I say he was a very subtle man. See what I'm saying? So let's read on. So he's giving an advice, man, on how he could, deal with her, right, or get her to lay with him. So Ammon lay down and made himself sick, and when the king was come to see him, Ammon said to the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. And David sent home to Tamar, saying, Go now to thy brother Ammon's house and dress him meat. So Tamar went to her brother Ammon's house, and he was laid down, and she took flour and kneaded and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Ammon said, Have out all men from me. So he said, all the men clear out. This is how serious it's about to get. Have all men out from me. And they went out every man from him. And Ammon said to Tamar, Bring the meat unto the chamber, that I may eat of thine hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them to the chamber of Ammon her brother. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her, and said unto her, Come, lie with me, my sister. So he's like, come and have sex with me, my sister. This man wanted to have sex with his own sister, right? So let's read on. And she said to him, Nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly, right? So she's like, don't rape me. This should not be done. No such thing should be done in Israel. So she understood the law. Okay? He says, and I, whither shall I go? Whither shall I cause my shame to go? So she like, man, if you do this, whither shall I cause my shame to go? I mean, she understood she was a virgin, right? So what man would want to marry a woman that has been raped? You see what I'm saying? So even then, you're dealing with the spiritual aspect, man, of this man, of people becoming one flesh, right? That's when you deal with the aspect of marriage. So now this man's wicked spirit will be on her. So who's going to marry a woman like that? Who's going to marry her? She would be more prized as a virgin, man, than she would be one that has been tainted. You see what I'm saying? By her brother. I mean, at that point, man, if she could find a husband, so be it. If she cannot, then what man would take her? There's no sin in it. There's no sin found within her, because she's not guilty of any sin, because she did not consent. You see what I'm saying? That's why the Most High said in the law, because she did not consent, she cried, but there was no one to save her. You see what I'm saying? So in this instance is how it's going, right? She's there. She's telling them, like, look, you shouldn't do this, man. This is evil. This is wickedness. That's why I say he took hold of her. He just grabbed her. He's like, come lie with me. So he's basically on top of her, and he's about to do this wicked action. She's letting them know, man, don't do this, right? So let's read on. So it says, Whether shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore, I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Howbeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and laid with her. So he raped her. He forced himself inside of her, right? So she's trying to buy herself some time, man, to try to get out of this situation. He's like, look, go to our Father. He will not withhold you from me. Absolutely. But he didn't hearken to it, right? So let's read on. Then Ammon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he had hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. Now, what does that mean? Why? He got what he wants. He got his nut off, right? I remember Cat Williams said something very profound, right? When I was looking at the Pimp Chronicles, I believe it was. And he said, if a brother's at a club, right, he's horny as a mug. I'm just paraphrasing. I can't quote it verbatim, but he's hornier than the mug, right? He told him go in the bathroom stall and release yourself, right, in the bathroom stall and see if you still look at that woman the same way you looked at her 15 minutes ago. He said the results would shock you. You know what I mean? Why? Because it's that lust. It's that. Absolutely. It's that lust and hormones, man. They at their highest, right? But this man, he raped his own sister. All right. So it says, and hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her, right? So once he got what he wanted, like Nabazan said, he was basically done, right? So he got what he wanted, and that was it. It says, and Amnon said unto her, arise and be gone. So he's like, get the hell out of my house. So get the hell out of my house. And she said unto him, there is no cause. There is no cause. This evil in sending me away is greater than the other that thou hast done unto me. But he would not hearken unto her. Right. So basically, she said, like, look, you sending me away is greater than, than you raping me. Why? Because now she's tainted now. No one would basically take her at that point. Even though she's done nothing worthy of death, man. So I'm like, shoot, you might as well keep me now. You done did what you had to do. But look at it in more so of a sorrowful form. In the sorrowful form that she's going through. Or what she's going through, man. She's just been sexually assaulted by her own brother. Her blood brother. You know what I mean? Same father, just different mothers. You know what I mean? Remember, the father connects all the bloodlines. The mothers don't. You see what I'm saying? So this is what happened, man. So then you'll read later on in the chapter, man, that Absalom ended up murdering Amnon, right, to avenge his sister's rape, right? She won't be considered no widow. You know what I mean? That's what just happened, man. Right. What just happened? Right. What just happened, man? That was pure fornication. You know what I mean? But it wasn't consensual. It was fornication on his part, but she did not consent to the act. So she was raped. She's not a virgin anymore. So she, like you said, like the Most High said in the law, the damsel, thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death, for as a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. So, just like a man was to bust with that tool and try to kill me, it's the same thing as a woman being raped, right? So when he said, for he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. So he's just showing you, like, if this is a married woman, or a woman that is engaged to a man, there's no sin that's worthy of death of this woman, right? Now and then it's to the discretion of that man if he still wants to marry her or not, even though she's been sexually violated. If he chooses to, then so be it. If he doesn't want to because of that, then, he could break it off, right? But that's what happens. Okay, so now verse 28, it says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lie, and lie hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lie with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, and because he hath humbled her, he may not put her away all his days, right? So just basically showing you the sequence, man, of what transpired, right? After the man gave cause or gave occasion to bring upon an evil name upon this sister, right? And then the flip side of it, and then Moses goes into the rest of, the rest of the forms of the law in which this would occur, right? Adultery, rape, slander, so on and so forth, right? So, this is basically showing you right here, man, like, look, you have sex with a woman and she's engaged, right? Remember, that sister's still married, all right? So you have, if a brother sits there and he finds a woman that is a virgin and he lays with her, they're married. So it does show you, man, that sex does officiate and does make you married, right? When you have sex with somebody. Anything outside of that, that is called fornication. Or anything outside of the covenant of marriage is fornication. See what I'm saying? So a man and a woman, they just coming together just randomly just to link up for sex and all of that, that's fornication. Because they're not doing it for marriage, right? They're doing it, out of lust, right? Or a man, you know what I'm saying, he's sitting there, man, and, he has no intention of taking a woman. The woman may be like, oh, yeah, I'm gung-ho, I'm his wife, right? But the man doesn't think that in his own mind, then it will still be fornication if they're still not dwelling under the same roof. You know what I mean? So remember, everything has to be done decently and in order, and everyone has to be on one accord and on the same page, right? All right, so I'm gonna cut it there. So you can write the rest of these scriptures down. It wasn't a whole bunch of them, but you can write down Matthew 1 and 18, dealing with the aspect of Joseph and Mary, showing you how, they were already engaged, right? So they were already married, but they just officiated their marriage when they had sex and they came together, right? But they're saying this was before the wedding ceremony they were to have. So everybody didn't know that they already had sex. Everybody knew that they were engaged. Everybody knew that they were already, betrothed to one another, right? All the steps were taken and all of that, but, they just went ahead and, consummated without the knowledge of everybody else. So now, basically like the wedding chamber, remember the tokens of the virgin, all of that was still important. So now, you know what I mean? If they was saying, all right, we're gonna keep the hush hush and move, right? So now, if there was if he was a wicked bastard, and he would have just, all right, well, we still gonna go through the whole process, wedding ceremony, all of that. They would have went through that, and he could have went inside of her, and he could have brought the accusation. Well, I went into your daughter and I found her not a maid. She was looking like, dude, we already did it. You already took my virginity. Nah, I didn't do that. I didn't do none of that. She wasn't a maid when I went in unto her. What's going on? You know what I mean? That's why the law is there to protect us. You see, it's to protect our daughters, and our sons. It's also there to protect us. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if a woman, she ain't in his word, I go out, I don't give a damn if she just the baddest thing walking on the face of the earth. She not with the Most High. She not walking with the Most High. That's fornication. Point blank, period. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not doing it for marriage. I'm doing it out of lust. Fornication. You see what I'm saying? So Matthew 1 and 18, Genesis 24 and 66, Isaac and Rebekah, that basically shows you right there, man. Isaac just took Rebecca, and once he seen her, he took her in the tent, man, and they got married. There wasn't no ceremony or nothing. They went in there, they got married. You see what I'm saying? Yep. And then also dealing with Genesis 29 and 23, when Jacob had sex with Leah. You know, so now if a wedding license was involved in this, right, then Leah wouldn't have been Jacob's wife. So Jacob would have had no reason to take care of Leah. She wouldn't have been a part of the original wedding agreement, right, or the kinsuba, or whatever they call it. So there would have been no need for him to actually deal with her, so he could have casted her off. But why did he keep her after he done laid with her? You see what I'm saying? So she wasn't a part of the original agreement. Rachel was the one that he served for, not Leah, right? But since sex makes you married, guess what? Jacob said, damn, you beguiled me, but now I'm stuck. What am I supposed to do? I got to take care of her too? And then he had to tell Laban, like, Laban, man, I worked for your daughter Rachel's hand in marriage. Well, you know what? It's a custom of ours to give the eldest daughter first, you know. So I would rather give my eldest daughter to you than give it to anybody else. But you know what? You can have Rachel too. You know what I'm saying? So he just had to do double time, man. He had to work. Altogether, he worked, 14 years plus another 7, 21 something years. You know, he worked for this man. You know, so he was away from home for almost 21 plus years. He did go back home. Right, if he did not find him a wife. He found him a wife. But that was talking about Rebecca. I'm talking about Jacob. And you know, Jacob and his family. All right. Yes. So y'all got those scriptures?